Okay, you know the feeling, right? You walk over to check on your favorite houseplant, you're admiring it, and then you see it. That one single bright yellow leaf right at the bottom, and your heart just kind of sinks. You think, oh no, is this it? Is this the beginning of the end? Well, today we are going to decode exactly what that yellow leaf is trying to tell you.
Seriously, let's talk about that feeling. Because that initial little pang of panic, it is totally normal. It looks like a warning sign, doesn't it? Like a little yellow flag telling you something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. And your first thought is probably, ugh, what did I do now?
But what if I told you that sometimes that yellow leaf is actually a sign that your plant is doing great, that it's healthy, and it's growing exactly the way it's supposed to? I know, it sounds completely backward, but it's true. It's not always a cry for help. Sometimes it's just your plant growing up.
So let's talk about that panic. That immediate internal monologue that sounds something like, did I give it too much water or not enough water? Is it getting sick? Does it hate this spot? Before you rush in to fix a problem that might not even be a problem, we need to understand a little bit about how plants actually operate.
Okay, here's the key idea, and it's a bit of a sciencey word, senescence. All that really means is the natural aging process for a plant. Just think about it for a second. The leaves at the very bottom of your plant are the oldest ones. They were the first to sprout. So as your plant is busy pushing out all this beautiful new growth at the top, it has to make a strategic decision.
This quote really nails it. A plant only has so much energy, right? And it is incredibly smart about where it sends that energy. So it decides to invest in the new leaves up top, the ones getting the most sun and doing the most work. The old ones at the bottom, they've done their job, and the plant is basically reallocating resources for a brighter future.
So how can you be sure that this is what's happening, that it's just a normal sign of a healthy, growing plant and not a real problem? Well, luckily for us, the plant gives us some very, very clear clues to look for.
Think of this as your quick health checklist. So, first question, is the yellowing only on one or two of the oldest leaves at the very bottom? Second, are you seeing fresh, new leaves unfurling at the top? And third, are all the other leaves a nice, vibrant green, and are the stems still firm? If you're nodding your head yes to all of these, then you can breathe a sigh of relief. Your plant is just doing its thing. But, it's not always that simple. Sometimes that yellow leaf is a warning sign. If you're seeing yellow leaves all over the plant, or it's happening to the newer leaves at the top, then yeah, it's time to put on your detective hat. Your plant is definitely trying to tell you that something in its environment is off.
And the number one culprit, far and away the most common reason for this kind of problematic yellowing is overwatering. It is the number one mistake pretty much all plant parents make, and usually it's because we're just trying to be too caring.
And here's why it's so bad for the plant. Roots don't just soak up water, they also need to breathe oxygen from little air pockets in the soil. When the soil is constantly soaking wet, those air pockets disappear. The roots literally start to suffocate, and then they begin to rot. And when the roots can't do their job, they can't send nutrients up to the plant. And the first, most visible sign of all that stress happening underground, yellow leaves.
So how do you know for sure? Well, your best tool is right at your fingertips. It's touch. A yellow leaf from overwatering will feel soft, kind of mushy because it's full of excess water. But a yellow leaf from underwatering, it's going to be dry, brittle, and crispy. And the soil tells the same story. If it's always wet and heavy, that's overwatering. If it's bone dry and pulling away from the sides of the pot, well, your plant is probably thirsty.
Now, while watering is the usual suspect, it's not the only possibility. A plant that isn't getting enough sunlight might start dropping leaves to save energy. Big sudden temperature swings can stress it out. Soil that doesn't drain well can cause the same problems as overwatering. And hey, sometimes it's just the natural change of seasons. Okay, so you've figured it out. Whether it's just natural aging or a problem you've now solved, what do you actually do with that yellow leaf? This is where a little pruning comes in. And you're not just tidying up your plant's appearance, you're actually helping it out in a big way. See, once a leaf has turned completely yellow, it's stopped making food for the plant. It's not really contributing anymore, it's just kind of hanging on. By snipping it off, you're helping your plant close the book on that old chapter and focus all of its energy on what really matters, creating new, strong, healthy growth.
But the timing here is super important. First, you have to wait. As long as there's still some green in that leaf, the plant is actively pulling valuable nutrients back from it. So let it finish that process. Once it's totally yellow, then you can act. Usually a gentle tug is all it takes, and it'll pop right off. Or you can use a clean pair of scissors and make a neat cut at the base. And then you just watch. You'll see your plant thank you by putting all that saved energy into getting stronger.
You know, all of this really leads to a big shift in how we think about our plants. We've moved from that initial panic to playing detective to taking action. The last step is really about understanding the big picture. Your plant is in constant communication with you.
This right here is the most important question you can ask. It changes everything. You stop being someone who just reacts to problems, and you become someone who understands their plant's needs. Plants are always trying to find a balance with their environment. The light, the water, the seasons. That yellow leaf, it's just a sign of that adjustment and progress. And that is such a crucial distinction. We tend to think of our houseplants as these delicate, fragile things that are just waiting to die on us. But they're not. They are incredibly resilient and responsive. They're survivors. They will do what they need to do to keep on growing, and they send out these little signals to let us know how we can help.
So, the next time you see a yellow leaf, don't panic. Just pause, observe, and listen. That single leaf isn't the problem you need to fix. It is the message you need to read. And once you start to learn their language, you'll find that taking care of them feels so much more like a conversation and a whole lot less like a struggle.